Okay, so now that we're back for our second video, I want to focus instead of on the idea of how you're going to complete your coursework for chapters 2 through 6, I want to focus on checkpoint 1, which is completely different from those. It's a getting started checkpoint, and the idea is that if you complete all of the things that are included in this checkpoint, you should understand what's expected of you for the entire semester, you should feel comfortable moving forward, and you should feel confident that you know that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I know from my experience taking online classes, if I was comfortable with what I was supposed to be doing and I knew that I had done all the 5 things that were required, I felt confident that I was succeeding in the class. But sometimes you get confused and you don't know if you've gotten through everything. So I'm going to go through checkpoint 1 in detail with you so that you can feel confident moving forward into week 2 of the semester. So the first thing that you'll note is that on the left-hand side of your screen, you should see 5 or 6 tabs depending on what teacher you're taking this from. So I'm in teacher view, so I have all these grayed out tabs. You won't see any of those. You'll just see the top ones that are in black up here at the top. Home tab is where you'll find all of your coursework, and it's divided into what are considered modules to Canvas, but we're calling them checkpoints because we're kind of saying after the first checkpoint, we're going to say you're good to go and you can move on to the next one. And after checkpoint 2, you should have certain skills that allow you to move on to the next chunk of material that's being covered in Photoshop. So you can call them checkpoints or modules, however you prefer. The announcements tab is the second tab on the left hand side, and the first thing you should do when you log into the class is you should read any new announcements. So there is a set of preset announcements that you will see as soon as you log into the class, and they're different from semester to semester depending on what they are. And then I, Jessica, if I'm your teacher, I like to send out any communication that I have to send to the entire class. I send it through the announcements tab because you can log in and you can read it, but you can also go up here to your profile and you can click on your account and your profile and you can change your communication preferences and you can get an hourly or a daily or a weekly email that gives you all the updates for the entire class. And there's a setting that will allow you to say anytime that the teacher sends out an announcement, I want to get a text message, or I want to get an email to my personal email, or I want a Facebook notification. So I would like you to pause the video right now and go ahead and go to your profile and adjust your communication settings to whatever you prefer them to be. Whatever you decide, you're responsible for reading all of these announcements. So on the first day of class, you should read through all 5 of the preset announcements. And the way that it works is that the newest announcements will be at the top, so the earliest ones are at the bottom. So you should start at the bottom with getting started in Art 1280 Photoshop, which I'm going to open up in a new window. And you can read through this in complete detail. But basically, it says that checkpoint 1 is due by the first week of the semester, but it doesn't take very long to do. It might take an hour, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours if you're really thorough to complete all the items in the first checkpoint. But things start to compile really fast in the Photoshop class. So I've outlined when the items in checkpoint 2 are due. And because checkpoint 2 is mostly knowledge based, like you're going to be reading about facts about pixels and resolution and images and new documents and things like that, you have chapters 1 and 2 are due on in week 2, as well as chapters 3 and 4. Week 3, the first day in week 3, chapters 5 and 6 are due, and then the second day in week 3, the checkpoint skills test and exam are due. And I'm kind of saying first day and second day because if you take this on campus and you have Monday, Wednesday class, your teacher might tell you that chapters 1 and 2 are due by Monday and chapters 3 and 4 are due by Wednesday. If you're taking my Jessica's online Photoshop class, I set the due dates for Wednesdays and Fridays so that if you do all of your work, you shouldn't have anything that overflows to the weekend. And so that every Monday you can log in, and Monday and Tuesday you can do all the work that's due on Wednesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday you can do all the work that's due on Friday. The reason that I've outlined what is due in checkpoint 2 in this announcement is that you should work ahead. So it's really easy to work ahead in the Photoshop class. Some of these things might take 30 minutes, but you're going to hit a chapter that might take you 15 hours to do because it has a lot of work or the content is foreign to you. The more you work ahead, the more lag time you have if you hit something that's really hard or you have questions. Um, I don't want to scare anyone, but students who fall behind in Art 1280, by the most part, do not pass the class. So Do whatever you can do to work ahead, stay ahead of the curve, stay ahead of the rest of the class, so that when something is difficult for you, you have time to catch up. If we go back to the announcements, other announcements are about random things in the class. So the second announcement is about printed semester schedules. When we get to checkpoint 1, you'll see that there's a semester schedule that you can download and print. Go ahead and print that for yourself. I will print copies of it for anybody taking Art 1280, whether it's my class or not, and I will post them outside of the 1-165 classroom at the South City campus, and I'll just keep printing them and sticking them to the wall until they start to not disappear anymore. So if I put 10 out there and 6 of them disappear, I'll print 6 more, and I'll keep printing them until I have 5 out there, and then the next day there's still 5, and the third day there's still 5. We will not change the due dates, so don't think that if you work ahead that things might change. Whatever is listed on that schedule is what is listed. The only time a due date would change is if we decide to give you more time, and we'll say that you have an extra week to work on such and such an activity. I do want to point out a couple things about coursework and video corrections. So we have restructured the Photoshop class starting with the spring 2017 semester, and instead of requiring you to do tons of skills-based activities to show that you can do a skill, we have decided that you can do those activities by watching the demo videos and following along with your textbook, and even following along with videos that we've supplemented from adobe.com, and then you will complete 1 or 2, depending on the checkpoint, skills tests at the end that showcases all of those skills at once. There are pros and cons to this, just like there are for everything. And the pro is that you can spend a lot of time dedicated to the one activity, but the con is that we're going to be much more strict about what is submitted for those activities, so make sure that you dedicate a significant amount of time to making sure it's right before you turn it in. As you start to read through the coursework or you start to watch the videos, there are a series of demo videos that were recorded by myself and other Photoshop teachers, and they will specifically reference old skills practice activities. Since they're not required anymore, you can still follow along so that you can learn about selection refinements or masks or different things like that. But it will say, don't forget, skills practice 3.1.6 is due by Friday. You can ignore anything in the video that doesn't link up to the class. So when in doubt, if there is a conflict between what Canvas is telling you is due and what a video is telling you to do, ignore the video and just watch the video for its content. And then above and beyond that, email your teacher if you get confused. I do understand that's going to happen, and the other Photoshop teachers and myself are going to work to get those videos re-recorded. But there's so many of them that we might not get to all of them this semester. When we finally get to checkpoint 1, you will find out that the textbook is available for free through the SLCC library. The software that you need for the class, which is, we're going to use Adobe Photoshop, make this bigger, Adobe Photoshop, Bridge, and Illustrator. In addition to that, you need access to Adobe Camera Raw, which is a free plugin when you have Photoshop. And if we get to it during checkpoint 6, we're going to use Adobe InDesign to kind of see how InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop kind of come together in your design workflow. All of the software can be accessed for free if you use the free options that are available. One of them is All Access, and you can go to allaccess.slcc.edu, or you can click and launch my little explanation video of how to use. As you work your way through right the course, my demo on how to use SLCC All Access. Please keep in mind that free stuff isn't always the easiest. So some students will still purchase the software and the textbook because they want a physical book and they want the comfort of just downloading the software and having it installed in their computer. But if you are interested in getting free software and free textbooks, make sure that you use either SLCC All Access or the other options we'll talk about when we get to the course syllabus. I would like you to submit your coursework through Google Drive. You will have the option when something is due to submit it either directly to Canvas by uploading the files directly or to submit through a link to Google Drive. I would prefer you to use Google Drive. It's easier for everyone involved. It could take a very long time to upload your files, and you do not want to miss a due date because you lose 10% if something is late. So I would upload it to Google Drive first and then just submit the link. And in the long run, it's much easier. There's a complete demo on how to do that if you go to the Announcements tab and click on the Using Google Drive to Submit Coursework link. Now, it's a generic video for all of my classes, so keep that in mind, but the steps for uploading and sharing are all posted. That sums up all of the announcements, so in our next video, we'll finally get to all the items within Checkpoint 1.